The avoidant shattered your heart. They pulled the rug from under your feet. They blindsided you. Or maybe they just slow faded out on you. But this person hurt you profoundly. So why are you still stuck on them? You might even be beating yourself up, kicking yourself for not being over this person. Avoidant breakups are hard to get over. It is so incredibly hard to get over the ending of a relationship with an avoidant, regardless of whether it's a blindsiding breakup or a slow fade out into oblivion. Many people find that a breakup of a long-term relationship or even the divorce of a long-term marriage is far less painful than the breakup or discard from an avoidant after a short-term relationship. There's reasons for this. First of all, there is an oxytocin and dopamine cutoff in the brain. When you're in the relationship with the avoidant, that dopamine, the oxytocin, the feel-good chemicals that go off in the brain in a relationship are flying high. You're feeling good, but then it's cut off, often without warning, especially in a blindsiding discard. And your brain goes through a dopamine withdrawal, it goes through an oxytocin withdrawal. And your subconscious mind, the unconscious mind, is viewing the avoidant X as the only way to get back to this happy, feel-good place. You're going through a withdrawal. Those feel-good hormones, those hit the same neuroreceptors in your brain that drugs like cocaine and heroin do. So you're going through an addiction withdrawal of those feel-good chemicals in your brain. You might not be getting the physical withdrawal symptoms, but you're getting the psychological withdrawal. Also, there's a lack of closure. Whether they slow faded out on you or they abruptly blindsided you, this person didn't give you any coherent answers as to why the relationship had to end. Just vague excuses like, I can't give you what you need, I'm just not ready for a relationship. Or maybe we're just incompatible, but very vague answers that really don't get at the heart of the matter. And the human mind likes closure. We like certainty, even if it's closure and answers for something that we don't want to hear. We still like to have answers and certainty, but without closure, it feels vague and uncertainty creates a lot of anxiety, and it makes it so hard to get over this person. Also, you are likely holding on to the future that you thought you had with this person. They likely promised you a future together. They talked about future plans. They talked about your life together, and they included you in those plans. So you thought you had it all figured out. You had a chemistry and a connection that was out of this world. You felt like you finally met your match. You met your person, perhaps even your twin flame. And then it is over, and you're still mentally holding on to this future with this person that you thought you were going to have. And it's really hard to let go of that future and start from scratch. And lastly, there is a good chance that you are actually trauma bonded to this person, especially if they went repeatedly hot and cold on you. Trauma bonds are created from intermittent reinforcement, and it's proven that intermittent reinforcement is more psychologically addictive than consistent reinforcement, meaning a person that gives you love and affection but only intermittently and then withdraws it and perhaps even puts you through pain like ghosting, gaslighting, etc. Those highs, when they're coming towards you in an affectionate way, can be so powerful and so addictive that you're constantly chasing the highs because you get such a dopamine rush. You feel so good when this person's validating you. And you get so addicted to those highs that you actually begin to ignore the lows. You allow the mistreatment. You're not holding boundaries. You're not setting your limits with this person. And you're constantly waiting for the next high. It becomes an addiction. It's more powerful than a person that gives you consistent love and affection. That intermittent reinforcement really gets you hooked. And after time and healing goes by, many people come to realize that they're actually more in love with the trauma bond than the person themselves. Because that trauma bond sure is powerful, and it takes time and effort to break. And one of the best ways to break the trauma bond and really truly heal from the avoidant breakup in general is to pump the brakes on rumination. when you're constantly going down memory lane, thinking of all the wonderful memories that you've had together, you are keeping your brain on a repeat. First of all, you're repeating all these good things about them, and the human mind learns in repetition, meaning that the good things about this person are going to be at the forefront of your mind, and you're inadvertently, unintentionally putting them up on a pedestal. And as long as they're up on a pedestal and you are repeating the cycle of these thoughts, it becomes so hard to get over this person. So when you find yourself ruminating, pump the brakes. Remind yourself, as hard as it is and as often as you have to do it, pump the brakes and remind yourself that ruminating is only going to hurt you, and then pivot and remind yourself of perhaps 5 to 10 different ways that they hurt you. Because now you're repeating a different pattern. You're repeating the fact that they hurt you. You're repeating things that are not so endearing, that they're emotionally unavailable, that they're selfish, they don't consider you, they didn't show you empathy, they didn't give you closure, things like that. Because now that you're repeating these negative things that you know to be true, you're going to be taking them down off the pedestal because you're repeating a different pattern. And the human mind really focuses and learns in repetition. Get more in touch with things like boundaries, what your needs are. Learn the skills of why boundaries are so important and how to enforce them. Focus on your path forward, and you will get over this person, and you will bust free of that trauma bond. But understand, it is not a normal breakup at all, and feeling pain and heartache is perfectly normal, and you're not alone in this, because there are tons of people around the world going through very similar heartbreaks and very similar experiences, because avoidant attachment is very common, and it affects all demographic groups and all genders. It affects everyone. And if you've been in a relationship with an avoidant, you're going through a very unique and difficult heartbreak. So be kind and empathetic to yourself. Self-compassion is very important.